I am so happy to be here with you all. I love to, more than anything, just connect with people, to share experience, to discover together what it is to live a spiritual life. And today's program is really timely in that it's going to help us tune into living with greater acceptance and zero resistance. Right now, we have a lot that might be coming up that we might be trying to resist. Maybe some things that aren't as we'd want it to be. So we have a great exploration today. I'm going to start with a prayer. And Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar, our beloved Yogananda, saints of all religions, we bow to you all. O Divine Mother, be with us now, free of resistance, willing, fluid, and joyful. In thy name, Om Shanti. Amen. As we begin to prepare to come out, remain in this meditative state and tune in to the quality of the divine that is manifesting in you now. Whatever that is, expand that quality, send that quality out into space, and let it touch all of the participants, all those present here and beyond, because the form separating us is just part of the delusion. Send these blessings, send this divine presence, and then I'd like you to gently open your eyes and then go into the chat, if you would, and type the quality that you are radiating out into the group. And after you hit send or return, go ahead and close your eyes again, and I'll read all the qualities that you are being bathed in. Love, calmness, joy, courage. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about acceptance and zero resistance. So I want to start by exploring what is resistance. So again, if you could just close your eyes, and I want you to take a moment to imagine the qualities of resistance. Where do we find resistance in the physical world? On this plane of duality, where do we notice resistance? Where do we notice resistance in the energetic realm? And where do we notice resistance in the world of feeling and thought? So I'm just going to ask you to tune into one word that describes resistance. There is no right or wrong. I'm not looking for an answer here to fit. You know, you don't get an A+ for giving me a certain word. Friction, stickiness, fear, anxiousness, tightness, dislike, demotivated. So let's just take a moment with those words for a minute. Of fear, friction, stickiness, more fear, more anxiousness, tightness, dislike, demotivated. How many people are aware of resistance in their life? Just by a show of hands. How many people just don't experience resistance in their life? They're just free flowing, there's zero resistance. We know that it's sticky, we know that it doesn't feel good. So today we're going to be exploring that resistance, because living with resistance is going to impede our spiritual advancement significantly. I say that for several reasons. One is that when there's resistance, we stop the flow of energy. we cannot go forward because we're fighting it with a resistance. Just simple prana moving through our body, we're not going to be able to allow that flow to happen. Resistance, if we were to look at it, is wanting things to be different than they are. And I'd like to just start with something really mundane as far as resistance is concerned. I'd like you all to imagine, you can close your eyes for a minute so we're not distracted. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in a car going down a big mountain. And you started at the top of that mountain going 55 miles an hour. But the grade is growing steeper and steeper, and we are traveling increasingly faster and faster. We're now going 75 miles an hour. It's growing more and more uncomfortable. What do you want to do? You want to put on the brakes. It's healthy, it's wise to engage resistance. This is a case of resistance that's useful. Now we start traveling up the mountain, going in the opposite direction. We're going uphill now, but we've kept our foot on the brake. As we accelerate, we are trying to get up the hill, but we've got our foot on the brake. We're noticing an interesting smell. There's heat building in the car. The car's mechanical system starts to break down. This is the dysfunction of resistance. This is trying to move forward while living in a state of resistance, while living with our brakes on. Feel free to open your eyes. Anybody want to share what it felt like going down the hill and then finally putting your brakes on? Anybody have an experience of that they want to share?
I felt a little scared when I was without the brakes going fast. And I remembered a place, a road in Brasilia that I always takes my hometown, that I feel this kind of fear whenever I'm going too fast, because the car gets so more and more speed, and you're afraid of losing control.
Yep. How about somebody coming up the other side? Did anybody have sort of a physical response to trying to come up the other side while pressing the accelerator, but pressing also on the brake? How did that feel?
I felt as though it was going to blow up, like it was just stuck, but like a buildup.
Does anybody, by a show of hands, have you ever felt that buildup in your own body of resistance? That same sort of sense of trying to go uphill, but there's this friction. Thank you. It's so wonderful that we can identify that, because if we can identify that and get in the habit of identifying that, we have come a long way in living as what I'm going to call superconductors. We need to be able to identify it and allow it. It's really important to allow the resistance to just say, you know what? Yes, I am living with resistance right now. So that's one of the key points, is just noticing. And I'd like us all to do a celebration when we notice. Instead of, how many people have a tendency maybe to get down on themselves when they find themselves caught in an old habit? Anybody at all, or is it just me? Okay, so what I'd like us to do is break the habit of getting down on ourselves, and I'd like us to celebrate when we become aware of something. So it's like the next time you feel resistance, I want you to say, I just am aware I'm feeling resistance. Yes! We're not celebrating that we're resistant, we're celebrating that we're aware. And when we're aware, we can shift, all right? So I want everybody to just imagine that they just became aware of themselves being resistant, and we're all gonna throw up our arms and do a celebration. So you just became aware, 1, 2, 3, celebrate. Woohoo! Yeah. You can help one another in your satsang to celebrate. When somebody says, you know, I just noticed that I did that again, and you see them going down that, I did that again. What do you do with that? When we say I did that again, the energy goes down the spine, doesn't it? What happens when we say, wow, I did it again and I'm aware? So do it again. 1, 2, 3, I'm aware. By using your thumb or your finger, your pointer finger, what direction did the energy flow just now? It flowed up. The only thing that changed was your attitude. That's it. True? The only thing that changed was your attitude. It was how you approached it. You could say, oh yeah, I did it again. Or yes, I recognized it. Woo-hoo! So, well done, everybody. I want to share with you a story of my son. He's now 19, but when he was about 3, he was really curious about faces. And he would show me a picture of somebody or a little cartoon, and he'd come up and he'd say, Mama, what's that face? So he's probably 2.5, 3, because that's the language he's using. Well, one day he pulled out a picture of himself, and this face of him, he was wearing a blue sun hat, it's summer, and his face is all contorted, it's red, he's got tears running down his face, his mouth is open in a weird sort of way. It was clear he was agitated. And he came up to me and said, what did I want? He didn't say, did I hurt myself? He said, what did I want? When our desires are thwarted or life isn't giving us the situation that we want, we can resist moving forward. I'm wondering if anybody's ever looked in the mirror when you're angry. Like you've just been angry with somebody and then you hop off to the bathroom and you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror. Has anybody caught a picture of themselves when they've been angry? I have. It is such not a pretty sight. Yogananda talks about us. We're given a face by God, and 20 or 30 years later, we wear the face that we have created. We can see in our bodies by how we're holding ourselves, by how we're holding our face, if we're living in resistance. A face free of resistance is childlike, no matter how old you are. A face free of resistance is light. And if we can notice ourselves, just as we walk past that mirror and say, wow, what am I carrying right now? What is in me that I've lost that little glow? And take the time to reflect. I want to talk a bit about superconductivity. It's actually a scientific term for material substance that is free of all friction. This is not science fiction. Okay, there is material substance in the world that is free of friction. There is no heat. All flows unimpeded, and these are called superconductors. Master was a superconductor. Babaji is a supreme superconductor. Swamiji was a superconductor, and we too can become superconductors. One way is to become aware of the tension that we hold. And close your eyes. And I'd like you to take a moment and identify an area in your life. It could be a situation, it could be a past event where you are experiencing or have experienced some level of resistance. This can be resistance at a very subtle level, which is much harder to work with because it can hide more easily, or on the bigger level of resistance. Resistance is an effort to push away to put the brakes on, to stop a flow of energy. We might say, I don't want this in my life. We might say, I want it to be different. This wasn't my plan. And for a moment, just allow yourself to feel the resistance. Don't push it away. What are you trying to push away? Feel the resistance. What are you trying to push away? Why are you resisting? What are you hoping to gain or change? And where in your body are you holding this resistance? Don't use any techniques to try to dissolve this. Just be with that discomfort, that icky, sticky. What I'd like us to do is just take a moment in this larger group to share any insights, any perceptions, new awarenesses, what this experience may have been like for you. So just
for me, it was kind of hard to really pinpoint what it is that I'm pushing away and what am I resisting, because what I want, but then what am I really pushing away is more like what I'm confused with. And then the sensations in my body, like it's like making healthier eating choices and not having a stronger willpower to say no and make the right decision and know when to stop. And then I don't know, like the sensations I feel, I don't know where I feel. I'm like, is it my stomach that's like wants more, or my palate that like craves these things that I know are not healthy to have a better meditation, you know? So like if I want to meditate, I should be eating so much. So I don't know really, like, is it the sensation that I'm hungry and like changing my thought patterns of like, you really don't need to eat that? Or
it's just a really good awareness to know that we actually don't know. I mean, we don't have the answer yet, and actually putting that on the docket to just reflect on and say, what is underneath the resistance I'm having to do this? So even if you weren't able to identify it, knowing that right now you don't know what that resistance is, and you can even put it on the altar and pray to Master, say, Master, please help me understand where the resistance is coming from. I'm here to learn. I'm here to receive your guidance. So that's a great awareness to just know that we don't know.
From my talk with Beverly, what I found interesting was noticing how her resistance are so similar to mine. So it gave me like an idea of how universal resistances are. We feel so unique to having resistance to wake up in the morning and go meditate. And then I think everybody feels the same. There are days that we feel the same resistance. You know, like she said, sometimes I feel resistance to do exercise. After I've done it, I like it, but I feel resistance to start. And I feel that's my struggle in the quarantine, you know, like to get up and do the exercise, get up and do the meditation. It made me realize that we all go through many of the same resistance.
Yeah. And sometimes we have the habit of thinking we're the only one and putting ourselves in a little box. I'm the only one that struggles with getting up and meditating in the morning. I'm the only one that has a hard time doing more than 12 kriyas at night. Whatever the story is, it's just important to look at. Now we need to take responsibility, but it's vital that we look without shaming ourselves that we're not doing something, to allow, without allowing this pattern, this resistance to be seen. If we don't allow it or we resist it, whatever it is going to persist. That's something that Carl Jung has said. So what we resist persists. So we need to figure out how to unravel the resistance.
I'm not used to being resistant, but lately I'm resistant to almost everything. And you talked about, you know, speaking with Master. One of the things is that I sit to meditate and I can't get quiet enough. I can't get centered enough. I mean, I meditate a little bit and then the meditation just goes. You can imagine a child with a choo-choo train coming through the room. That's what my meditation is like. It's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's gone. So that's very, very frustrating. And also I'm having physical reactions. It's a fear reaction. It's a burning in my stomach. So I think I'm resisting this pandemic. I don't want it.
I'd like to just offer a crazy thought that maybe we could all embrace. What if Babaji is behind all of this? What if Babaji, not that he wants to see people suffer, what if this is a purification? What if this is a cleanse? What if Babaji is helping to shift things? What if Babaji is helping the forces of Shiva to come through so that Brahma, the creator, can come and do something new? Master talked about these times. Master talked about a time where there would be certain things. Is this the beginning of those times? We do not know. But what if all that's happening, the elections, the person that was elected into office, just what if that was a setup to allow something bigger to expand? You know how we look back on our lives and we say, that's why that happened. It allowed me to grow. Well, what if this is just a bigger lesson that we ultimately get to grow from? That the entire world is receiving a test at the same time in order to rise. What if, even if that isn't true, what happens to ourselves as we embrace what's happening with that attitude? With the attitude of being tested from the holiest of holy to say, I am here to help this through. And no, yeah, it looks crazy. It's even comical. Remember that Master says that this is all a show of light and shadow. And here we are in this drama. What would happen if we could, actually laugh at some of parts of it? He calls them comedy dramas, something like that. These aren't easy times. I'm going to read something. This is a quote from Master, and it's about worry. And it's where the inspiration for this class comes from. Worry creates resistance. Here's the quote. Remember that every time you worry, you put on a mental brake. And in struggling against that resistance, you place a strain on your heart and mind. You wouldn't try to drive off in your car with the brake on because you know it would severely damage the mechanism. Worry is the brake on the wheels of your efforts. It brings you to a dead stop. Nothing is impossible unless you think it is. Worry can convince you that it is impossible to do that which you want. I want us to become superconductors. I'm going to walk us through a little visualization of us becoming free of all resistance. We become superconductors. So go ahead and sit tall and close your eyes. I want you to take a full inhaling breath through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Make a noise. And again, inhale through the nose. Letting go one more time. Inhaling. Exhale, melting away all excess heat. Allow yourself to be like Teflon, where nothing sticks. Feel yourself as a superconductor of willingness. The breath flows freely. Your energy flows freely. Absorb in Master's vibration. Bring a cloak of his awareness all around you. Mentally affirm, I am a superconductor. I move forward in life, free of resistance. I am cool, I am calm. I am charming. I am magnetic. I am Master's disciple, ready to do his will. And Master has asked me to take my foot off the brake. So I am taking my foot off the brake and I move forward unimpeded. And I'd like everybody to just share one thing about becoming a superconductor. Just one thing.
Trusting in the plan that God has is for my highest good. So just trusting and reminding that he has a better plan and he's really driving the train and not me. I'm not in charge.
No, you aren't.
For me, it was a tremendous relief. What you talked about before we sat and talked with each other was just a tremendous relief, because I had been really focusing on what was down in the cellar and not walking up to the attic where God is. So I'm feeling much better. Thank you.
I want to pick up on that thread. We have to go to the attic. I was just reading something that Swamiji wrote. He said the downward pull is all the stronger for not being recognized. To see it in true perspective, however, that is to say, in its relation to the truth, is possible only in a state of super consciousness. So that's going up. That's going to the attic. Swamiji is saying we need to look at it. We need to see that downward pull for what it is, and it will be stronger by not being recognized. But we recognize it, and then we soar up. We spend 90% up. We look down there and say, yep, that's there. And we rise. We give oomph to that upward flowing energy.
It was a lot easier to speak words about being a superconductor than it was to speak words about resistance. Even talking about it, it just felt like a tangle of resistance, almost like it got more power. And then speaking about superconductor, I just felt much lighter.
Yeah. And a lot of times, resistance lives in the body. And resistance usually has something to do with our emotions. And emotions unprocessed reside in the body. They get locked in the body. That's why it's really important to be able to live as superconductors, that the feelings that we have, because if you start to watch resistances, they usually center around likes, dislikes, feelings. And if we don't allow that and we stay in these states of fear or desire, they end up finding places in our body that have potential to then manifest into illness. So we might not be able to have the words. If we can get a hold of the sensation that we have, like people were using words like icky, sticky, when we talk about the resistance. So
as I was sharing, I couldn't easily visualize myself becoming a superconductor, because the situation for which I seem to have the most resistance felt bigger than me. But calling upon the grace of Babaji, Master, and our gurus, that almost changing the affirmation that with Babaji's grace, I'm now a superconductor, that made a big shift, helped a lot.
Resistance is being stuck. Resistance is being stuck, and acknowledging that we're stuck, just say, and not go, oh my God, I'm stuck. Ugh. Because if we can say, you know what, right now there's some stuck energy. We don't need to say that that's our state of being forever and always, but for right now I'm feeling some stuck. And to just say, for this moment, I'm feeling a little bit of stuff and my belly's feeling a little tight. And maybe we lie down and breathe into our belly. We invite Master in and we say, Master, I'm becoming a superconductor. Babaji, I'm a superconductor. In fact, I encourage us all to become superconductors. Maybe we can take on a month-long challenge from this day for 30 days to become a superconductor. That in the morning when we do our meditation, we affirm being superconductors. In the evening before we go to bed, we put ourselves in the state of being a superconductor right before sleep.
I think one of the things Yogananda said at some point was be free of worry. He recommended taking a worry fast even for a short period of time, and then see how that feels. And I think that would free at least me from some resistances that I have. If you could just say, all right, for this hour, I'm not going to worry about any of that, and just feel how that is. And then maybe next time it's 2 hours, and then slowly extend that out.
That's beautiful, because becoming a superconductor would mean we'd be on a worry fast. It might be just another way of looking at it. So
yeah, for me, it's having unlimited faith. because resistance comes from wanting to be in control and for not recognizing that the way that things are, it's the way that they should be. And truly accept the way that everything is, you have to have unlimited faith, right? To know that God is always in control and everything's always right the way that he makes them be, right? He allows it to be.
Let's go ahead and send out just vibrations of love, all those divine qualities that embody us. And let's feel Babaji's guiding presence. And whenever a worry comes up, and whenever we might doubt, whatever it is, whenever we feel resistance, let's feel Babaji's force that is guiding the direction of humanity. God bless you all. Thank you for the invitation. And